Okay. So I'm Hannah. I just graduate like in the summer,
Hmm.
and I'm just glad to have kind of conversation with Young today.
Thank you.
And so we're gonna talk about like our project, and especially like you're gonna talk about like how are you doing you like, you're in your job, how are you doing, or
My journey
mm,
and your journey as well. Like, yeah, share our opinions, kind of things.
yeah.
Well, we spoke earlier in Korean because we are both Korean, and then it's a little bit awkward to speak in English, each of us, because our first language is of course Korean. But like, okay, let me introduce myself first. I will share my screen. So I earlier had a alumni talk in Chelsea, but just to speak of my myself, I am currently working as you know, like digital designer, and same as you, I have a background in interior spatial design. I graduated 2 years ago already, and then since then, just right after I graduated, I joined creative agency called Collisions. So I would like to introduce one of the project I recently done to just explain how I am how I'm using my interior and spatial design skills into the practical field. So before I introduce about the project, the Holistion is a creative agency. So Horizon always have experimentations between art and technology to create the memorable experience to the audience. So here, this one is the project I did last year. Our team did it for the brand called Tiffany, for the jewelry brands. So the brief was to create an unforgettable experience inside of the world of Tiffany. So this was the installation piece, which was held in DDP, Dongdaemun Design Plaza in Seoul. So I will just play this video first, and then I will just explain. So it was quite a huge exhibition. So one of the rooms we were allocated was to create some educational piece. This one showing right now, an educational piece to communicate how jeweler makes jewelry. And so we had to take a shooting for the real jeweler of Tiffany flying to New York, and then using the technology, AR technology, we put those shooting video on the top of the real camera fit of the tables. So to do that, we put the real tables, real working tables, and the chairs, and then we put some screens, and then we played some the pre-shoot jewelry making process animation on it, so that once the users standing in front of it here, they can feel like the jewelers are existing there, and then making the jewelry in front of there. So basically, to do this as a spatial designer, and then as a designer who has an interior and spatial background, the main mission was to create a magic moment, not the like seamless, memorable experience, because we use a lot of technology, so it is really hard to hide the background system of the technology. So the most important thing is to create the seamless experience. So to do that, we discuss a lot about the spatial arrangement, how to put this screens, what kind of size of the screens would be appropriate, and how to arrange the tables, and then how to shoot the real jewelers videos, something kind of those. So based on the experimentations, there is a little GIF in here. I used some program called Cinema 4D, and had some experimentations like such as the distance and size, and also the angle. And then based on this experimentations, my colleague went to New York to shoot these videos, and then we make these videos. We put these videos on the top of this camera feed in the real installations, so that it creates like a really magical experience, so that the jewelers are making the jewelry in this place. And I also participated as a content like an animator. So it was so here is one of the example what I do in the real world, and the in an agency, and as a spatial design. So we always contemplated how to put the digital media into the physical space without causing any interruptions. So here's some kind of explanation of myself. So yeah.
So how did you find it interesting, like when you choose the company?
So actually, in fact, one of the reason why I joined Holition was that I saw a short phrase that Holition explains itself, augmented retail. At the time, I was writing a dissertation about augmented space, which is a concept of integration of virtual and physical space. So at the time, I was already studying and having a research about how to put the digital media into the physical world. So Coalition is the company that keeps experimenting with the technology and art to create augmented retail space to offer a memorable space. So, so in a way, my dissertation topic and my final year project led me to my current place. So I would like to just briefly introduce my final year project to explain how I got into this place. So my final year project's title is All Your Senses, and if I can explain itself in a one sentence, it is social networking platform that enables product recommendations. So as I said, I've been interested in augmented space, and then the main point of the augmented space is how to overlay physical space with layers of data. So because having a digital media is a big power, is a huge tool to have a lot of informations on, like information can refers to the images, or maybe the text, videos, moving images, etc. So so that's why I've been so to have experimentations of this augmented space, I try to have a research and then analysis process on the shopping experience, because the shopping there are two different routes on the shopping experience. One is offline and the other is online. So even though the online shopping is much more efficient, but I thought, but still, it is still lack of sense. It's still lack of sense. So you can only have like auditory or visual sense, visual information through a computer when you shop online. But if you go to the real offline shop, you can feel everything. So I was thinking how to make how to solve this kind of problems, how to enhance the experience in online shopping. So that's how I started my research, and I found fragrance is the most is one of the most I'll say the fragrance is one of the most trickiest product that could be purchased in an online platform, because fragrance itself is smell. So because apparently you cannot smell through your computer, it is really hard to buy a fragrance in online shopping mall. So, but I found really interesting, because when I read some kind of reviews of the fragrance, people depict it in a really different way. Like when I use, some people say when I use Jo Malone pear and English freesia, some people say that I feel like I'm in an English garden with yellow flowers, and while listening Mozart piano concerto, something like that. So I realized that all of this memory, and then all of the interpretations of the products is related into all different senses. So that's why I come up with the concept of the synesthesia. So synesthesia was the concept that you can feel the color, you can touch the smell. When you, like, for example, when you see yellow, you feel warm. So that's how I come up with the idea that maybe I can merge the visionary data with the olfactory data. So and while I was having a research, I found this 3D map of the audio descriptions space. So the Manuel Giorgio, who is a chemist, drew some 3D cube to visualize the odor sense. And then I thought that maybe this could be combined with the RGB cube. So there is a RGB cube we are familiar with, like a color codes. So because it is in the 3D cube, so the data is already aligned in a X, Y, Z axis. So my idea was to maybe, because you can see here the earthy, mossy smell is in here corner, which is 0.255.0, which is according to the color of green in here. So I was thinking maybe we can put together the visionary and olfactory data together. So that's how I start this project. And then if I jump into the outcome, I was thinking maybe if the user upload their own review of the product, it can be uploaded as a room, as a memory room. So for example, like if you want to write a review of this Jo Malone fragrance, you can put your own interpretations of music, your own interpretation of colors, your own interpretation of place. So therefore, you will create your own form of your memory. So, and then I went even further for this platform, and then I tried to imagine how this platform would be working in a physical space. So this is the one of the example visualization of the fragrance department store. So with this platform, if you go one of the users' profile, you will see Betty's taste. You will see Betty's review with her own interpretations of these products, with her review of the music, with a review of the colors, how she depicted, and of course, you can go to other person's profile, and then the visualization will be a whole different. So I was trying to make the shopping experience as much as personalized, and then integrated with the technologies, and to create a more like to create while enhancing the social experience. So that was my final year project about, and that's how I got into this. That's how I was interested in the augmented space. So I think now I want to hear about your final year project as well, like how. And I've heard it was started from the research that you did for Hanok, which is the traditional Korean uh, living space and gender issues.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, before I explain my project, like I just want to say, like your project is really interesting for me. Like as you choose like perfume as a method to visualize it and personalize it in augmented space. Like yeah, that's what made me surprised. First of all, yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, so let me introduce my dissertation first. So my dissertation was about the Korean traditional house,
Mm-hmm.
called Hanok, to see how it has been transformed during the Japanese annexation of Korea.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as Korea has been changed a lot during the period throughout the society, economy, and even housing. So I wanted to research how the Hanok was specially changed and have different impacts on the users by those factors. And especially, I found it interesting that the Hanok is especially divided by gender.
Mm.
You can see the screen. And the space organization defines the activities in the house in here. One thing to note, the house was totally male dominant and women were physically and psychologically limited from outside world. So when you can see the screen, like the blue part is for the men's and the pink part is for women. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, the pink, like women are really limited into the domestic space, and on the other hand, like the space was for the leisure and a kind of playground
Mm.
and space. So the red zone on the right, like is kind of visualization of the women's activities. Like
Mm.
it's like yeah,
Like cooking stuffs, and then
yeah.
like cleanings.
Mhm. So for the final project and as a part of research, I wanted to see how the housing designed by women's perspective is different from the Hanok in
Mm.
terms of the spatial use and configuration.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to experiment the domestic space with this, women's psychology, like based on like how they perceive and feel the space differently,
Mm-hmm.
while they talk, no, why they walk throughout the space. So this one like shows kind of it's kind of similar things like you've done like in your final project. Like I just visualize like when women like see or touch the materials, different
Mm.
materials, how they feel differently. Like I just wanted to visualize it in different colors in the same space. Yeah, and from the entrance to the end, like they feel differently in the and when they encounter different materials and yeah, like it gives a different like kind of psychological effect on them.
Mm-hmm.
So and then go back to 21st West-centric Korean women. So I wanted to create a space for them based on what they need, like to be more provocative and liberate in related with feminism ideology.
Mm.
So the space is called Women Paradise, and it is kind of women community center. So the main goal of the final project was to design the space where women can free from sexual, social, and cultural stereotype in Korea.
Mm.
Says like women still do the housework and nursery compared to the man, and feel especially the space for them to feel safe and welcoming. So the form of the space is kind of transformed from the original hanok from the left, which is typically like male dominant,
Yeah.
to woman dominant space by relocating and having kind of fluidity with curved and rotating forms.
Mm-hmm.
Give them like more space and more, yeah. So by doing so, the space rejects traditional male dominant ideology in Korea and gives a new space for the woman, yeah, in Korea. So kind of I just want to show some special programs like which is highlight somewhat so-called like masculine activities like boxing, like breaking dishes, or like um to give to give the voice that they are not limited into the woman's duty,
Mm.
or like woman is just not weak, or yeah, like
Yeah. So woman can do some kind of activities that men used to do.
mm-hmm.
Mm.
And then rather like they have power and authority to create or change the space by their own.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the kind of one of the space like called building zone. Like they can create and they can just take part in the building process, and they can change, like they design by themselves. Like so while they can while they participate in the building process, like they um are also part of the space itself.
Mm.
What I
Yeah,
want,
yeah, that is really interesting.
yeah. So yeah, that's kind of simple explanation, kind of brief explanation of the project. So yeah, the project is like I just wanted to focus on like to be more provocative and liberating, like in
Mm.
terms of the feminism ideology,
Yeah.
because like in the during the research I just found like having common between East and West
Mm.
perspective, especially in even in UK, like they have like Victorian house, like they
Mm.
have kind of master bedroom. You know, you can just easily find like kind of this place is kind of male dominant space, like as
Mm.
analog. So I just wanted to break the kind of the how the space gives them authority, the power to use the space. So yeah, that's the main point of my project.
Yeah, personally, it is really impressive to look through your projects because, like for me as well, like I thought like maybe the space follows the ideology of that time, but I think your project is just completely swifted that kind of thinking. So the ideology can be followed by the spatial design. So I mean, and I think it's really brave project to just break the current stereotyped thinking process, but just create a new spatial arrangement for the user centric. And yeah, in that way, I think it's really impressive to see. Um, do you have any planned for the future while you are doing this project, or like do you have any others interests while you are having this experience?
Mm, that reminds me of like what my tutors like Cyril said throughout the year. Like he said, like the final year project is not only the final project for to graduate, but also like this is kind of will be will give some direction, like what I'm going to be after graduation or in the future. So like so while I was doing my final project, like I found it really interesting, like the gender issues and the correlation between gender and space. So if I can, I just wanted to experiment further, like about the gender issues and in the spatial field. So yeah, for now, yeah, I'm just thinking about that kind of join kind of women community in Korea and just like yeah, how it's different like from kind of Western kind of feminism movement or in related with the space done in the West. So yeah, for me like for now in Korea, like this kind of feminism issues or gender issues is kind of really hot potato.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it would be a great opportunity to more experiment in Korea. Obviously, yeah. So yeah, that's my plan for now.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So yeah, because when I come to Korea, I always realize that the spatial arrangement is really similar, even though it is the completely different apartments. Like it is very structurized. So I guess your experimentations would give some kind of give some kind of insights to find some kind of problems of the current apartment designs in Korea. So that is really interesting to hear. So yeah, as you said, like same. I also heard same things from Cyril that the final year project is not the end point, but the starting point. So I know I'm still struggling to explain my final year projects. I guess it's because it is still vague and it is still abstract. But I found, but at least I found my interest in the augmented space and then technology and then digital medias and the 3D user interface. So since last 2 years, I had no idea how to proceed into the further steps. But I recently get to know the program called Unity, which is the program to create an AR VR space. So I recently started to digging into those kind of fields like AR and VR because I found that it would be really interesting to create a prototype to create a prototype of my final projects in AR and VR form. So maybe in the future I can share with you as well, and of course with your experimentations with the gender issues in Korea and experimenting the spatial arrangement.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right, and thank you, and also thank you for Civilis to offer this opportunity. It was really good to talk with you as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was really good. We lost your face. I can't see you anymore.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. You're just a.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's all right. Don't worry. I'm gonna stop recording now. But yeah, thank you so much. That was really, really good.
No
Thank
worries.
you.